The mysterious arrival. The world had never seen anything like this. It began with a strange signal, a flicker in Earth's radio waves, so faint and unusual that scientists first thought it was a glitch. But the signal grew louder, stronger, and more persistent. It wasn't coming from Earth, and it wasn't from any satellite or space station they knew of. Something out there, far beyond their reach, was calling. Dr. Emily Turner, the leading astronomer at the International Space Observatory, was the first to detect the anomaly. This is not from any known source," she murmured under her breath as she stared at the screen, eyes wide with disbelief. She called her colleagues over, and together, they tried to make sense of the strange pattern. It didn't fit any known frequency. It wasn't a natural phenomenon, either. For days, the signal grew stronger, pulsing through the vast emptiness of space. It seemed to have a rhythm, a purpose, a message, but no one could decode it. Governments around the world were alerted. Military satellites turned their lenses toward the source, but there was nothing, just an empty stretch of space. The closer they looked, the more confused they became. There was something there, hidden beneath the veil of darkness. Then, without warning, the object appeared. At first, it was small, just a bright dot on the horizon of the solar system. Scientists tracked its movement, calculating its path. It was coming straight toward Earth. The world held its breath. This wasn't just a meteor. No, this was different. This was deliberate. Something, or someone, was coming. The news spread like wildfire, and soon the whole world was watching the sky, waiting, wondering. For weeks, the object grew larger as it entered the solar system. People stared at it in awe, trying to comprehend the unimaginable. Was this the sign of a new beginning, or the end of humanity? As the object drew closer, more details became visible. It wasn't a rock or a comet. It was a ship or something like a ship. It was enormous, far bigger than anything humanity had ever built, even larger than their greatest space stations. It was dark, metallic, and perfectly shaped, a massive monolith with strange symbols etched along its surface. The ship was unlike anything seen in human history. Dr. Turner's eyes were glued to her computer screen as the object made its final approach. "This is it," she whispered. "We've never seen anything like this before." By now, the entire world was watching. News outlets broadcast live images of the strange object's approach. People gathered in cities, on rooftops, in fields, anywhere they could see the sky. Some were terrified, others were hopeful. No one knew what to expect. And then, it happened. The object slowed down, almost as if it had noticed Earth's presence, as if it was making sure its arrival would be felt. The strange symbols along its surface began to glow, one by one, lighting up the night sky like a constellation. It sent a pulse of energy toward Earth. A wave of electromagnetic radiation surged through the planet, knocking out communications, scrambling signals, and leaving entire cities in darkness. The world was plunged into chaos. Radios crackled, televisions flickered, and for a brief moment, everything was silent. Humanity had just been introduced to something far beyond their understanding. "We've lost control of everything," a military commander reported as he watched his screens flash with warnings. "We don't know what that pulse did, but it has affected every system, every single network on the planet." The Earth's leaders scrambled to respond, but there was no time. The strange ship hung motionless in the sky, too far away for humans to reach, yet too close to ignore. What was it doing? Was it observing, or was it preparing for something worse? And then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the ship began to descend. Slowly, gracefully, it hovered over the ocean. The sky turned black as it blocked out the sun. The whole world watched, eyes wide with fear and wonder. What did this alien presence want? The world's governments gathered in emergency meetings, and every military leader across the globe prepared their forces. But deep down, everyone knew nothing could prepare them for what was to come. And just as they braced for impact, a message crackled through the airwaves. It was a language no one had ever heard, strange and alien, yet somehow its meaning was unmistakable. "We are the Galactic Empire," the message said. "Your world is now under our control. You will surrender." The transmission ended abruptly, and all communications went silent. The ship loomed above, a silent giant in the sky. Earth had just made its first contact with a force far more powerful than anything it had ever known. And with that, the world's future was uncertain. The terrifying question echoed in the minds of everyone watching. What would the Galactic Empire do next? The countdown to catastrophe had begun. A Galactic Empire revealed. The world's confusion deepened with each passing hour. Governments scrambled to respond, but no one had any answers. The message from the alien ship had been clear and terrifying. Earth was no longer in control of its own fate. But what exactly did this mean? Who were these beings, and why had they come? The ship hovered silently above Earth for days. No one dared to approach it. Military forces surrounded it, but there was nothing they could do. The technology aboard the ship was far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. Every attempt to make contact failed. Radios, satellites, and communication lines had all been scrambled when the ship had first arrived, and nothing seemed to work. Dr. Emily Turner, still on the front lines of the scientific community, was working nonstop to decode any signals that might reveal the Empire's true intentions. But after hours of analysis, all she could decipher was one constant message: "We are the Galactic Empire." The message echoed through every channel and system like an unshakable pulse. It became a haunting reminder of Earth's helplessness in the face of something far more powerful. The Galactic Empire. Who were they? And why had they chosen Earth? Across the globe, panic began to spread. People filled the streets, trying to make sense of it all. In cities, towns, and villages, rumors spread like wildfire. Some believed that Earth was under attack, that the Galactic Empire was here to destroy them. Others held out hope. Perhaps the Empire sought allies, or a peaceful coexistence, but no one truly knew. And as the days passed, fear started to outweigh hope. The world's leaders were desperate. United Nations meetings took place, emergency sessions convened. Military commanders suggested various strategies: negotiation, direct assault, or total retreat. But each option seemed more impossible than the last. Earth's weapons couldn't even scratch the surface of the alien ships. President Thomas Richards of the United States addressed the world, his face tense, yet determined. "We will not surrender. We will resist. No matter the odds, Earth will fight for its freedom." His voice echoed in every corner of the globe, offering a flicker of defiance in the face of overwhelming uncertainty. Meanwhile, the Galactic Empire did not seem interested in immediate confrontation. The ship above Earth remained passive, though its presence alone was enough to paralyze the planet. Yet every time a human force attempted to break through the atmosphere toward the ship, the technology aboard it would react. Defensive measures, unimaginable in their complexity, ensured that no one could come close. Earth was completely at the mercy of the Empire. It wasn't long before Earth scientists made a chilling discovery. The Galactic Empire wasn't just interested in Earth's resources. No, it was far more methodical. They had studied the planet. They knew everything about it: its atmosphere, its history, its weaknesses. "They've been watching us for a long time," Dr. Turner stated in a press briefing. "This isn't just some random invasion. This is planned. They've known about Earth and its people, possibly for centuries." The revelation sent shockwaves around the globe. The sense of being watched, of being nothing more than a specimen under the gaze of a much larger power, crushed the hope that humanity had held on to. The more they discovered, the more it became clear the Galactic Empire had not come to make friends. They had come to conquer. As fear set in, Earth's military forces began to rally their defenses. Fighter jets, missiles, and battle fleets were prepared, but all of it felt like a futile effort against the Empire's overwhelming power. However, there was one thing that no one had anticipated: the human spirit. Even when the odds were against them, humanity refused to surrender. But what could they do? How could they face a force so advanced, so deadly, when even their brightest minds had no way of understanding what they were up against? The Galactic Empire's ship remained in orbit, silent and menacing. And then, without warning, a new message was broadcast across every channel. It was not a warning this time, but an announcement. We have arrived. You will comply. Your future will be determined by our empire. Resistance is futile. Your world will be ours. The words echoed through the planet, chilling the hearts of every listener. Earth's future, once so bright with promise, now seemed as if it would be swallowed by the dark expanse of space, consumed by an empire far beyond their comprehension. And still, humanity's leaders held firm. They would not yield. They would not let their world fall without a fight. But even they knew the truth. The real battle had only just begun. Earth's response. The silence that followed the Galactic Empire's message weighed heavily on the world. Governments scrambled to unite, knowing they could no longer act alone. Tension filled the air as the leaders of Earth realized the gravity of their situation. The Empire's message had been clear. Compliance was not optional. The fate of Earth now hung in the balance. President Thomas Richards convened an emergency meeting with world leaders. The room was thick with unease. Every leader, from military commanders to civilian officials, knew the odds of survival were slim. Earth's weapons and technology, impressive by human standards, were nothing compared to the advanced forces that had arrived in orbit. We cannot fight them with what we have, General Alvarez, head of Earth's United Military Forces, stated bluntly. Their technology is light years ahead of ours. Our weapons are ineffective. Richards clenched his jaw. He had never felt more helpless in his life, but there was no time for fear. Then we find another way, he replied firmly. We'll use every resource at our disposal. We'll fight with everything we've got. Across the globe, scientists, military strategists, and engineers were called to action. The task was clear. Devise a way to fight back against the Empire, or risk losing everything. But there was a growing realization. Any direct military action against the Empire would lead to destruction. The alien forces had shown their power by disabling Earth's communications with a single pulse. What else could they do if provoked? Dr. Emily Turner, still working with her team of scientists, proposed a daring idea. What if they've been watching us for so long, they've figured out our weaknesses? What if the reason they haven't attacked directly is because they're waiting for us to make the first move? The thought sent chills down the spines of everyone in the room. The idea that the Galactic Empire was playing a game, waiting for humanity to make a mistake, felt even more terrifying than the possibility of immediate conflict. We need to show them we are not just going to roll over, Dr. Turner said. But we can't fight them with weapons alone. We need to think smarter. With that, a new plan began to form. Humanity's best minds turned their attention to one thing: finding the weaknesses in the Empire's technology. If there was a chance to fight back, it lay in understanding how the Empire's ships worked. But Earth's knowledge of space and alien technology was limited. They didn't even know where to begin. Meanwhile, Earth's military forces prepared for a worst-case scenario. Though they had little chance of winning a battle, they trained relentlessly, readying their fleets in case the Empire decided to make an example out of Earth. But something else was happening, something less obvious, yet just as important. The people of Earth, the ordinary citizens, began to feel something change within themselves. A spark of defiance grew in every corner of the globe. From bustling cities to quiet villages, people realized they weren't alone. They were united against a common enemy. We're not just fighting for survival, President Richards said during a televised address to the planet. We're fighting for our freedom. We're fighting for the future of our children. And we will not go down without a fight. The message rang out loud and clear. Earth's citizens may have been frightened, but they were not broken. Humanity's resilience was beginning to show. They had faced obstacles before, but this was a battle for their very existence. Every man, woman, and child from every nation would have to stand together, or they would fall alone. The military began to gather their best minds to develop new technology, and in every lab around the world, scientists and engineers worked around the clock. They began to explore the theory that the Galactic Empire, though powerful, had weaknesses that could be exploited. Earth would need to outsmart them, to use their greatest strength, human ingenuity. In one high-security lab in Russia, a breakthrough came. A team of engineers discovered that the pulse emitted by the Empire's ship had a frequency that interfered with Earth's communications, but it could also be used to disrupt the alien ship systems. They believed they had found a way to weaponize the same pulse, using it to temporarily disable the Empire's defenses. But it was a risky move. If they were wrong, it could provoke an even stronger retaliation from the Empire. Dr. Turner, aware of the stakes, reached out to Earth's leaders. "We have something. It's not much, but it's a chance. If we can deploy this pulse weapon, we may have a shot at turning the tide. But it's a gamble. We don't know how they'll react." President Richards took a deep breath. The weight of the decision hung heavily on his shoulders. "Do it. We have no choice." As the plan moved forward, Earth's military forces, scientists, and engineers worked together, combining their knowledge and resources. There was no turning back. The countdown to humanity's greatest gamble had begun, and in the distance, the Galactic Empire watched, observing, waiting, calculating. Earth's next move would determine its future, and everyone knew that time was running out. A desperate plan. The atmosphere on Earth was thick with anticipation. The plan to fight back against the Galactic Empire had been set into motion, and humanity's future now rested on a single desperate idea. It was all they had left, an attempt to use the alien ship's own technology against them. If the weaponized pulse worked, it could give Earth a fighting chance. If it failed, there was no telling what the Empire might do in retaliation. In secret bunkers around the world, military officials and top scientists worked day and night to finalize the device. Their task was monumental: build a pulse generator strong enough to disrupt the Galactic Empire's defenses, using the same frequency that had disabled Earth's systems when the ship first arrived. But the clock was ticking, and they didn't have much time. The Galactic Empire's presence was growing stronger, and their ships continued to loom ominously over Earth. "Do we have a working model?" General Alvarez asked as he stood over the holographic map of the Empire's ship, his face drawn with exhaustion. "Is this even possible?" Dr. Emily Turner, who had become the lead scientist on the project, nodded. "It's not perfect, but we're confident we can generate a pulse strong enough to interfere with their systems. We've tested it in small-scale simulations. The real test will be when we use it on the Empire's ship." The plan was risky. The pulse device would need to be launched into space, placed strategically near the Galactic Empire's ship, and activated at precisely the right moment. The catch: Earth had no space fleet capable of getting close to the alien vessel without being destroyed. They would need to use a different method, a covert mission led by Earth's best and most daring pilots. Captain Jack Mitchell, a decorated war hero, was chosen to lead the mission. His reputation as a calm and calculated leader under pressure made him the ideal candidate, but even he couldn't hide the doubt that lingered in his mind. "This is insane," Captain Mitchell said as he surveyed the team of pilots preparing for the mission. "We're going into the heart of an enemy fleet without knowing what we'll face. If this fails, we're all dead." His second-in-command, Lieutenant Maria Cruz, placed a hand on his shoulder. "But if we don't try, we're already dead. We got one shot at this, Jack, and the whole world is counting on us." The pilots climbed into their spacecraft, modified for the mission. The ships had been fitted with advanced stealth technology to avoid detection, but there was no guarantee it would work. The Galactic Empire's ships were armed with weaponry beyond anything Earth had ever seen. Even a small mistake could mean their end. The countdown began. 5 minutes until launch. The voice of mission control echoed through their headsets. "Prepare for departure." As the countdown reached its final seconds, Captain Mitchell looked out at the vastness of space. The blackness stretched endlessly before him, with the enemy ship looming in the distance, a dark shadow on the horizon. The tension in the cockpit was palpable. They were about to cross into enemy territory, where every move would be critical. "Remember, our goal is not to engage them directly," Captain Mitchell reminded his crew. "We get in, plant the device, and get out. If they detect us, it's game over. Stay sharp." With a final deep breath, the team launched into space. The journey was long and nerve-wracking. The team navigated through asteroid fields and dark space, relying on their stealth technology to stay hidden. Their destination was the Galactic Empire's massive ship, which hovered just outside Earth's atmosphere. The closer they got, the more intense the feeling of danger became. Every sensor on their ships was on high alert. As they approached the enemy vessel, a chilling realization set in. This was no longer just a mission. It was a suicide run. If the Empire detected them, they would be obliterated in seconds. But they couldn't stop now. Approaching target area, Lieutenant Cruz reported. "We're within range of the ship." Captain Mitchell's hands tightened around the controls. The ship's stealth technology was holding up so far, but they were nearing the Empire's defensive perimeter. It was only a matter of time before the enemy would notice them. There was no turning back. As they got closer, the massive size of the Galactic Empire's ship became clearer. It seemed to stretch on forever, a dark, foreboding structure that dwarfed everything Earth had ever built. But they couldn't afford to be distracted by its size. They had a job to do. "We're in position," Captain Mitchell said, voice tense, initiating pulse drop in 3, 2, 1. The device, a small, compact unit built to generate the pulse, was ejected from the ship and began its descent toward the Empire's massive vessel. The pilots held their breath. The next few moments would determine whether Earth had a chance to survive. But just as the device neared its target, something unexpected happened. The Galactic Empire's ship emitted a sharp burst of energy, a pulse suddenly sweeping the area. The stealth technology of Earth's ships flickered, causing alarms to blare in every cockpit. "Get us out of here," Captain Mitchell shouted, but it was too late. The Empire had detected them. The battle for Earth's survival had just become far more dangerous. The turning point. Chaos erupted in space. The Empire's pulse had found its mark. Captain Mitchell's team had barely managed to avoid being detected by the Empire's overwhelming firepower, but now, with their stealth technology compromised, they were racing against time to complete their mission and escape the enemy's grasp. "Lock on the pulse device. Activated now." Captain Mitchell barked through his comms, adrenaline pumping through his veins. The Empire's ship was too close, and their position was becoming more precarious by the second. "Pulse device is ready," Lieutenant Cruz confirmed, her voice tight with anxiety. "On your mark, Captain." The device, now floating dangerously close to the Empire's colossal ship, was the only hope humanity had left. It would be their best chance to disable the Empire's systems temporarily, but they had no idea how effective it would be, or what might happen once it was activated. The only thing they knew for certain was that failure would mean annihilation. "Now," Captain Mitchell ordered. With a deep thrum, the pulse generator activated. A wave of energy surged through space, sending a ripple of interference through the Empire's systems. For a brief moment, everything seemed to freeze. The massive Empire ship shuddered as the pulse hit, its lights flickering in the darkness of space. But then, nothing. The Empire's ship continued to loom above them, unaffected. The pulse had done little more than stir the surface of the behemoth. Humanity's hope was quickly dashed as the pulse failed to penetrate the Empire's defenses. Did it work? Cruz asked desperately, her eyes fixed on her control panel. The lights on the Empire's ship remained steady, and the massive vessel showed no signs of malfunction. "No," Mitchell muttered. "It's not enough. They're too advanced. We've got to get out of here, now." But it was too late. The Empire's sensors had already detected their position. A wave of energy shot toward them from the massive ship, tearing through space like a deadly laser beam. The crew braced themselves as alarms blared across their ship. "Brace for impact," Mitchell shouted, gripping the controls as the attack came closer. Just as the energy blast was about to hit, something extraordinary happened. The Empire's ship seemed to hesitate, its weapons firing erratically, as though something had caused a disruption within its systems. "It's working. The pulse is destabilizing their systems," crews exclaimed, watching in disbelief as the alien ship faltered. Captain Mitchell's eyes widened. "No way. We actually hit them." For the first time, a glimmer of hope flickered. The pulse had weakened the Empire's ship enough to cause a temporary malfunction. Its defenses had been compromised, just enough for humanity to strike. But the victory was short-lived. The Empire's ship quickly corrected itself, its systems stabilizing once more. However, the brief moment of weakness had given Captain Mitchell and his team a valuable window of opportunity. The enemy wasn't invincible. Humanity had found a crack in their armor. And now, they had a chance to exploit it. "Deploy countermeasures. We need to buy ourselves more time," Mitchell ordered. The pilots launched a series of decoy drones into space, sending them into a confusing array of trajectories. The Empire's ship fired wildly, trying to target the false signals, but it only bought the team a few precious moments. With that, Captain Mitchell made the call to retreat. "Time to go, everyone. Disengage and head back to Earth. Now." The crew turned their ships and made a break for the safety of Earth's atmosphere. Behind them, the massive Empire ship continued to burn brightly, its weapons still firing into the void of space, but the Empire's response was slower now, distracted and disorganized. It was clear that the pulse had caused more damage than the Empire had expected. As they made their escape, Captain Mitchell couldn't help but feel a sense of triumph. They had done the impossible. They had struck at the heart of the Galactic Empire, and for the first time, they had shown that humanity was not as weak as they had believed. They were not defenseless. But even as they sped back toward Earth, Mitchell knew that this battle was far from over. The Empire would regroup, adapt, and come back stronger. And when they did, Earth would have to be ready. Humanity had discovered a weakness in the Empire's armor, but it would take everything they had to turn that knowledge into victory. The final battle. The moment Earth's forces learned that the Galactic Empire's ship had been momentarily disabled, a wave of cautious optimism washed over them. Captain Mitchell's team had succeeded in showing that the Empire was not invincible. Humanity could fight back. But that victory was only temporary. It was a fleeting moment of hope in a battle that was far from won. Now Earth's military was preparing for the final showdown. The Empire had regrouped, repaired its ship, and was preparing for a full assault. There would be no more half measures, no more testing the waters. This would be the moment that determined the fate of Earth, and humanity would not go down without a fight. General Alvarez and Dr. Turner stood together in the command center, reviewing the plan. Their goal was simple: strike the Empire's ship at its most vulnerable point, the power core. If they could destroy it, the Empire's forces would collapse. But the task was monumental. The Empire had reinforced its defenses and deployed multiple ships to protect the core. "We've only got one chance," General Alvarez said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We hit them with everything we've got. This is our final shot." The military had developed a new fleet of advanced spacecraft, capable of dodging the Empire's countermeasures. They had also developed a more powerful version of the pulse weapon, one that could target the heart of the Empire's ship with precision. It wasn't a guaranteed success, but it was their best hope. On Earth's surface, citizens gathered in their homes, waiting for the signal that would tell them whether humanity's future was secure. There was no going back. The final battle was upon them. Meanwhile, in space, the human fleet assembled. Fighter pilots, led by Captain Mitchell, took their positions. The air was thick with anticipation, the weight of the moment pressing down on each pilot's shoulders. They had come this far, and now, the ultimate test awaited them. "Pilots, this is it," Captain Mitchell said over the comms, his voice calm but resolute. "We're going to hit them hard and fast. No second chances. Stay sharp, follow your orders, and remember, this is for Earth. Let's bring them down." The fleet jumped into hyperspace, heading directly for the Empire's fleet. The enemy was waiting. They had seen the earlier attack and knew Earth would come again. But this time, the humans were prepared. The Empire's ships, massive and intimidating, circled the flagship, awaiting their next move. As Earth's forces emerged from hyperspace, they were met with an unrelenting barrage of enemy fire. The Empire's defensive shields were stronger now, and their weapons were deadlier than ever. But the humans had learned from their previous engagement. They had adapted. "We're taking heavy fire," shouted Lieutenant Cruz as she maneuvered her fighter ship. "Shields are holding, but we can't take much more of this." "Focus on the target," Captain Mitchell ordered. "We need to get through. Protect the pulse generators. Keep them intact." The human fleet engaged the Empire head-on, fighting with everything they had. Every ship was a weapon, every pilot a hero. They dodged, countered, and attacked with surgical precision, taking down Empire vessels one by one. But the battle was far from easy. Empire ships retaliated with laser fire and energy blasts, cutting through the air like thunder. Explosions rocked the space around them as the human fleet advanced, getting closer to the Empire's flagship. 20 seconds to target. Lieutenant Cruz called out. "We're almost there." As the fleet pushed forward, a new danger emerged. The Empire's flagship deployed a swarm of smaller fighters, its last line of defense. The human fleet was suddenly surrounded, engaged in a vicious dogfight in space. Pilots fought tooth and nail, pushing their ships to the limit. "Hold your ground," Captain Mitchell shouted, weaving through enemy fire. "We've got this." With the pulse generator on course, the human ships kept the Empire's fleet distracted, buying enough time for the pulse weapon to reach its target. The closer they got to the Empire's core, the more intense the opposition became. 5 seconds. Lieutenant Cruz warned, her hands gripping the controls tightly. The pulse device was nearly in position. In a final, desperate move, Captain Mitchell guided his ship into the heart of the enemy's defenses, while the rest of the fleet continued to hold off the attackers. As the pulse generator neared the core of the Empire's flagship, a single shot rang out, hitting the target with pinpoint accuracy. Target hit. Cruz yelled in triumph. "We've got it." For a split second, nothing happened. And then, the Empire's flagship shuddered, its powerful engines sputtering as its systems began to overload. A brilliant flash of light filled the sky as the pulse generator activated, sending shockwaves throughout the enemy ship. The Empire's once mighty vessel began to break apart. Explosions erupted from within, tearing the flagship apart in a series of deafening bursts. The remaining Empire forces faltered, their unity shattered. The human fleet continued to press the attack, taking advantage of the confusion. But even as the flagship began to crumble, the remaining Empire ships retaliated with all their remaining might. It wasn't over yet. Earth's forces had won a decisive victory, but the final blow had yet to be struck. "Finish it, Mitchell," Dr. Turner's voice came through over the comms. "Do it now, before they recover." Captain Mitchell's eyes narrowed as he steered his ship toward the remaining Empire forces. With one final push, Earth's fleet launched a devastating barrage of missiles and pulse blasts. The remaining ships didn't stand a chance. Within moments, the once indomitable Galactic Empire's fleet was in ruins. The war for Earth's survival was over. Victory and survival. The silence that followed the final explosion was deafening. For a moment, it seemed as though time had stopped. The debris of the Galactic Empire's fleet floated through space, drifting aimlessly. Earth's forces hovered in the void, their ships still intact, but their pilots shaken and exhausted. Captain Mitchell sat quietly in his cockpit, staring out at the ruins of the enemy's fleet. The mission was over, and humanity had won. The unthinkable had happened. The Galactic Empire, the invincible force that had threatened to destroy Earth, was gone. It was a hard-won victory, and one that would forever change the course of history. "Mission complete," Mitchell said quietly, his voice strained with emotion. "We did it. Earth is safe." The human fleet, though battered and bruised, had triumphed. The few surviving Empire ships had surrendered, their forces shattered by the surprise attack and the destruction of their flagship. Earth had proven that, no matter the odds, they would fight until the very end. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted. People poured into the streets, waving flags and cheering for their survival. The world, once filled with uncertainty and fear, was now united in joy and relief. The threat was gone. The human race had faced an unimaginable enemy and emerged victorious. But even as the world celebrated, the leaders of Earth knew that this victory came with a price. The planet had been scared, both physically and emotionally. Cities had been destroyed. Families had lost loved ones, and the fear of another invasion lingered in the hearts of every person. President Richards addressed the world in a broadcast that would go down in history. "Today, humanity has shown what it is capable of," he said, his voice firm and full of pride. "We stood together in the face of an unimaginable threat, and we prevailed. But let us not forget the cost of this victory. We must rebuild, we must heal, and we must prepare. There are more challenges out there, more unknowns. But today, we are a united world, and nothing can break our spirit." Dr. Emily Turner, standing with him, added her thoughts. "We've learned something invaluable during this time. The universe is vast, and there are forces far greater than we can understand. But the one thing that we know for sure is that humanity's greatest strength is its resilience. We have faced an enemy that thought us weak, and we have proven them wrong." The world, still recovering from the devastation, began to rebuild. Cities were rebuilt, homes repaired, and lives were slowly restored. But one thing was certain: humanity would never be the same. The Galactic Empire's arrival had changed the course of Earth's future. No longer would humans look at the stars with innocent wonder. Now they understood the true cost of survival and the responsibility that came with it. In the years that followed, Earth began to explore the vastness of space. Their victory against the Galactic Empire had proven that they could stand toe-to-toe with the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Earth's scientists, engineers, and military leaders worked together to create new technologies and build alliances with other species they encountered. The lessons learned from the Empire's invasion would shape their future. But as Earth expanded its reach into the cosmos, a new understanding settled in. The galaxy was full of unknowns, civilizations far older and more powerful than they could have imagined. But Earth had one advantage: the unbreakable will of humanity. No matter what the future held, they knew they could face it together. As President Richards looked to the stars, he felt a sense of cautious hope. The battle with the Galactic Empire was over, but the true journey had only just begun. And as the Earth looked upward, they did so with newfound strength, ready for whatever came next.